Well, a very, very, very warm welcome. Hi, my name is Cassim, and welcome to this week's goal setting workshop. Truly, I want to firstly start off by saying a massive, 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 massive thank you to you. I know that you may be busy with your family. I know you may be busy and it's Sunday today and you've got your friends and you've got all sorts of things that you've got to do. But you've taken the time out and you've carved the time out to spend the next kind of hour or so with me doing this workshop and really trying to take back control of your life, really kind of building a plan to where it is that you're going to be in the next kind of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to leading up to the next 10 years, the next decade of your life. You are clearly somebody, I can tell, if you're going to watch this entire thing, you must be clearly somebody who is serious about life. Because people who do my goal setting workshop, they aren't like kind of like wishy-washy, kind of like, yeah, whatever, Cass, anything can happen, anything is whatever. Most people who do this workshop, or most people who participate, are people who are like me. They're people who want to help people. They're people who want to actually build some kind of wealth. They want to become competent in life. They want to earn some kind of respect within their community, within their family. They want to leave a legacy behind them where they can really live up to become everything that they're capable of becoming. They don't want to be like the lion that spends all his entire life in the zoo. They want to be out in the Serengeti. Yes, the Serengeti is much more dangerous than the zoo, but they would much rather be able to unleash that roar, unleash that potential, unleash that extreme kind of the gifts and the extreme manifestations that they have inside of them that this generation needs. So honestly, really want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope today can add some value to you in your life. I don't know what it may be. I may say something or I might point you in the right direction, but I hope something that I say today can add some value to you and can serve you and can help you become a higher, fuller expression of who you're capable of becoming. So truly, thank you so much. I've entitled today's workshop a rather kind of different title than I usually do, but today's title is "It's Never Too Late to Change Your Mind." And I guess that's actually where I want to begin. But before I get into that, a couple of other kind of housekeeping things that I wanted to mention. Number one, if you like this video, if you think someone would find it useful, if you think actually, Cassim, some of the things that you said today, I think this person needs to see it. Cut it up, paste it, use it, share it with whoever. If you think some of the things that I'm going to share today are bullshit, comment below. You know, I'm always working on myself. I'm always trying to find a way to articulate my ideas and to articulate a philosophy much better. So if you have, criticism and you're like, actually, Cass, I don't agree with that, or you should have said that this way or like that, you're more than welcome to send me a message. You're more than welcome to comment or whatever. Don't be shy. You guys know I'm a very open kind of person. So truly, that's the first thing. The second thing that I would ask you to do is, most of you know this is a workshop. There's a difference between a workshop and a seminar. A workshop is where you actually participate. It's actually where you get involved. You've got to do something. A seminar is where you basically go to a room or whatever, you sit there and you listen to somebody speak for about an hour or so. No, this workshop is about you taking charge of your life. This workshop is about you no longer being a passenger in your life. And that really begins with you actually starting to write some of the things that you want. And so one of the first things that I would ask you to do is, as I'm about to introduce today's workshop, go to your computer, go to your dad's computer, go somewhere around the house and find a piece of paper and go get a pen. You've got about 2 or 3 minutes as I introduce today's workshop, because you're going to need it. This is where you really become serious, because most of you know I study successful people, and successful people are serious people. People who are like, oh yeah, unsuccessful, they're usually like, yeah, Cassim, all that goal setting workshop, writing things down. Yeah, that's all for like those kinds of people. That's so silly. Like, those people are usually the people who are unsuccessful. The people who actually sit there and they participate and they write the things that they want down and they build a plan, those people are the people who are the winners, the champions, the people who we all admire with the nice houses and the great families and the little kids who are happy and they live in the nice neighborhood and they're able to provide for their family. Those kinds of people they're really, really serious people. So I would encourage you to really get serious. And one of the first ways to get serious, which is a really simple way, because no one's going to be able to tell whether you're going to do this or not, is to go and get a piece of paper and go get yourself a pen. So, as I mentioned earlier on, today's seminar is called, workshop I should say, is called It's Never Too Late to Change Your Mind. And that's really a great place where I wanted to start today's workshop because, you know, I recently, this week, I basically am in the process of writing a book and I'm going to call it the Dictionary of Success. When I first started studying successful people and unsuccessful people, I began to realize that there was a disparity. That basically successful people seem to use different language than everybody else seemed to use. Like, for example, I'd meet successful people and they would say, don't complain, don't complain. But successful people don't complain. And I was like, that's really weird. Because I've never really thought about what does complaining do? Well, complaining means that you relinquish responsibility. It basically means it's whatever the problem is somebody else's fault. I would meet successful people and they would use words like winning, champion, strategy. They would use words like tactics. They'd use words like philosophy. I had never ever in my life used the word philosophy in my life on a regular basis. Philosophy just wasn't a word that I would use. I didn't use the word strategy consistently in my life. It just wasn't something that I did. And so as a result of that, I've been really doing a lot of research around words. And this week, there was one particular word or phrase that I was really fascinated with. And the phrase or the word was peaked. And the phrase that I found really interesting is that I used to have school friends of mine. Well, actually, where this came from is I was reading an autobiography, and the autobiography talked about the fact that this person peaked in high school. And I wanted to know, what does that peaked mean? What does it mean when somebody says they peaked in high school? So I went and did some research. And what essentially this means, and is what I discovered, is when you peak at something, it means that you've reached the highest level of that, and you cannot go any further. And what I basically discovered is that many of you who are going to be listening to me today, you peaked years ago. You peaked in school. You peaked 5, 6, 7 years ago. And you found it really, really, really difficult to reinvent yourself. There is a new word that you want to add to your vocabulary that is associated with winners. Reinvention. Many of you have struggled to really be able to transition from being in school because you were a champion in school, you did great in school, then you left school and kind of expected that you would be a champion when you left school. The reality is you've been a failure. You have no girlfriend, you have no savings, you don't get to go on the holidays you want because you don't have money, you're not in a job that you want because you're not really motivated and you don't really push yourself at work because you don't really like the job anyway. You constantly have loads of problems with your friends, so you don't have great friends around you who push you, who encourage you, who support you constantly. You know people and you go out and get absolutely smashed with them, but they don't really actually know you. They don't know you at your core. They don't know what you believe in. They don't know what you stand for. And so what part of the reason why I wanted to do this workshop today, and I use this as an introduction, is that this workshop is a great opportunity for you to reinvent yourself. This is a great opportunity for you to write a new script of your life. This is an opportunity for you now to forget about what has happened over the last 10, 15 years. The fact that you've been a failure, the fact that you haven't worked hard, the fact that you haven't known what you wanted to do. And this is now time that you actually take back control of your life and you get back on track to winning again. Some of you who are listening to me, you haven't won in years. You haven't won at anything. And what I mean by winning is you haven't got the things that you set out to go and get. Every time you set out to go and get something, something gets in your way or you get derailed and you end up losing. And it's affecting your self-esteem, it's affecting your psyche. It is now, this workshop is a great opportunity for you to just take a pause and start strategizing and start planning how it is that you can become a winner again. Because it is possible for you to become a winner. It doesn't matter whether you've messed up the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. It doesn't matter whether you've been a dickhead for the last 20 years. It doesn't matter whether you've not known what you wanted to do for the last 15 years. Okay, cool. Let's wipe the slate clean, right? You peaked in high school. You were amazing with girls before, but you're no longer amazing with girls. You used to have a great body, but you no longer have a great body. Okay, cool. We get that. Let's now wipe the slate clean and let's bring you to this moment and let's actually start all over again. And yes, if you decide to start all over again, there is no guarantee that things are going to work out. Just because you do this workshop and you take the relevant steps to a better future, guys, nothing is guaranteed in life. There is no guarantee that you're still going to win. There is no guarantee that you're still going to get what you want. But I'll tell you what, you have a far much more likely chance of getting somewhere if you know where you're going. So by setting yourself these goals, by setting a destination, by envisioning the future, by creating it, by taking control of your life and becoming who you need to become, you put yourself in a great position to be able to become a winner, to start really achieving some of the things that you are meant to. Many of you who are listening to me, you know that you have more left inside of you. You know that you've been like a lion which has been trapped inside of a cage its entire life. Every single one of us know that just because you've got a lion in a cage, it doesn't eradicate the fact that the lion is still a lion. Yes, it's been locked up, it's been conditioned, it's been in this perfect environment. But the reason why the zookeepers lock the cage and do not want to be trapped inside of that cage with that lion is because they still know that the lion has still that roar, it has that power, it has that vigor inside of it. And many of you, for the last kind of 5-10 years, you've had this roar. People have told you you're special. People have told you are going to do great things in your life. But you kind of haven't really known what you wanted to do. You haven't really had a model. You haven't really had a plan. You've never really made the choice or the decision to really go after anything. And so as a result, you've been a bit wishy-washy. You've been kind of going all over the place. You've been undisciplined. This is your opportunity for you now to take control. It is now time for you to become disciplined. It is now time for you to move from childhood to manhood. Because Jim Rohn once said that the day that you move from childhood to adulthood is the day that you take responsibility for your life. Taking responsibility for your life means accept everything that has happened. Look, nobody can change the past. Nobody is perfect. Nobody has an exemplary record of their life where they've never made any mistakes. So actually, I say that some people have, right? But is that really having lived? So it doesn't matter that all that's happened. We get it. Now it is time for you to say, I get it. I've made all those mistakes, but it's now time for me to take my future in my own hands, and I'm going to create the next 10 years. That right there is what I want to do in this workshop for you. So once again, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me. I hope by me introducing that, you've now got yourself a piece of paper. You've got yourself like a journal, like I've been drumming home to you guys to get yourself a journal. I hope you've got yourself a pen. And let us get into today's workshop. And so to begin off the first exercise of this workshop, it's really very simple. Take your pen, take your paper, and write down what you want. It's as simple as that. And now I know you may be looking at me and thinking, well, what do you mean, Cassim, write down what I want? I literally mean, what would you like to have in the next 10 years? And can I just mention a couple of things about this? I didn't say, what do you think you can get? I didn't say, what do you think you can get based on the mistakes you've made in the past? I didn't say, write down what you want based on your current circumstances. I didn't say, write down what you want based on your current skill set. I didn't say, write down what you want based on your current knowledge. I said, write down what you want, the person you want to become, the places you want to travel to, the foods you want to eat, the changes you want to make in your life. This is over a sort of a decade, over a 10-year period. Just go crazy. And another note, as you write these down, write them one underneath the other. But just go crazy, just go mental. Be like a child. You know, I did this very exercise with my little sister Maya, who was 7. And me and Maya, we did this exercise where I said, Maya, we're going to write down what we want, and it's going to be a competition. The person who writes down the most things in 5 minutes wins. And Maya looked at me and said, I can write down anything I want, Cass. I said, Maya, you go crazy. You write down whatever you want. She's like, and I can write down, I want to be a pony and I want a pony. I said, Maya, whatever it is that you want, you write it down. You know, many of you, and just carry on writing, by the way, many of you who are listening to me right now, the reality is you are cynical. The reality is that many of you who are listening to me right now, you are pessimists. You don't believe in your ability to figure things out. You don't believe in the future. You don't believe in destiny. You don't believe that people can change. You don't believe that the future is brighter than it is today. You don't believe that in humanity. And I really want to encourage you to begin to believe again. Begin to hope again. Begin to dare to be stupid. You know, one of the things that I've had to come to realizations as I've studied people who've started with nothing and have built their way to success is that you are, let me put it the way that the CEO of Under Armour put it. The CEO of Under Armour said that when he first started the company Under Armour, there were 2 companies that dominated the sportswear world, which were Nike and Adidas. And he said, when I first started this company, I was naive enough and stupid enough to not know what could be done. Because that was the only way that I could ever build a brand that was ever going to even dare to challenge the likes of Nike or Adidas. And that's what I encourage you to do. As you write down some of these things that you want, be stupid, be naive, be like a child, pretend you don't know what is possible. Pretend you don't know what you can do. Forget about your past. Forget about the mistakes that you've made. Just go crazy and write down everything that you want. So let me make a couple of suggestions as to some of the things that I wrote down. I wrote down, number 1, that I wanted to send my mum to New York. I wrote down that I wanted to to interview a president. I wrote down that I wanted to have a meal with Eminem. Have no idea how I'm ever going to do that. Have no idea how I'm ever going to meet Eminem, but that's what I wrote down. I wrote down that I wanted to have at least 10 houses rented out before I die. I wrote down that I wanted to be married for 50 years, happily. I wrote down that I wanted to save £1,000. Back then, when I did this workshop, I was in debt, which is part of the reason why I did the workshop, because I was in debt, and I said I'm willing to do anything to get out of debt because I hate it. I hate the shadow of constantly making money, and every time I make money at the end of the month, I'm spending most of it paying debt off. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. I also wrote down that I wanted to become a millionaire. I wrote down that I wanted to answer the 5 big major life questions, which were, number 1, who am I? What is my story? Why am I here? What can I do? And where am I going? I wrote down that I wanted to be successful and happy. Maybe for you it's to start an ice cream shop down somewhere in Cornwall. For some of you, maybe to learn how to ride a motorbike. Some of you, I have black friends of mine who don't know how to swim. One of your goals might be, Cassim, I want to learn how to swim. so that I can teach my children, because every single member of my family, as a black person, they've never known how to swim. And I've always looked at other parents and admired how they can go into the pool and teach their child how to swim and they can go swimming. I've never been able to do that. In fact, my kids, when we go to the beach, I've seen not only my brother's kids or my sister's kids, but when we go to the beach, they go into the water, but I can never go past kind of knee high. But I would love to be able to jump in the ocean and go swimming with my nephews, but I just can't do that at the moment. I'd love to be able to do that over the next kind of 2 years. Some of you, one of your goals might be to figure out how to sleep at night. Because some of you, you've never had a good night's sleep. You've never been able to go to sleep at 11 o'clock at night and wake up at 8 o'clock. You usually wake up at 1 o'clock, then at 4 o'clock, and then you go and have some dinner, then you wake up at 5 again. You've never slept an entire night all the way through. And you just want to be able to handle that. Some of you, one of your goals is, you know what, Cassim, there's been a lineage and a heritage of people getting diabetes in my family. I'm going to be the first person in my family not to get diabetes. Which means I'm going to have to look differently at the way I eat and the things that I eat. And I'm going to have to take into account my genetics. What would you want over the next 10 years? Go crazy, guys. Don't worry about what you think you can get. Just write down what you want. This exercise, particularly this part of the exercise, is really about building hope. You know, I found that a lot of guys, we just don't have hope in our life. Hope just means there is something out there. There is a chance that something better out there is possible for me. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to change. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be difficult. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to acquire skills and knowledge. It just means you have the knowledge that at least something out there is possible for you. What would you like to have? Maybe for some of you is to get a tailor-made suit. You've seen people with tailor-made suits and you've always wanted one. Race a Formula One car. Visit NASA. Some of you, it may be to get to the point where you cut off your entire hair. Everybody for the whole of your life has known you primarily because of your hair. But you've made the decision that you no longer want people to see, when they see you, to see your hair. You want them to see your heart instead of your hair. And at the moment when people meet you, the main thing that they see is your hair. And it takes months and months and months before anyone actually ever gets to know you, really cares about who you are. And even then, still your hair is the main thing that they identify you with. And you want to get to the point where you're going to cut off all of your hair and take back control of your identity. That's somebody. By the way, somebody said that to me. That's why I'm suggesting it to you. So what would you like to have? Places you'd like to go. Maybe for you, like me, you wanted to become a millionaire. I didn't want to become a millionaire because I wanted to sound cool. I wanted to become a millionaire, number one, because I wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to see if a boy from Africa, from Uganda, born in poverty, came to England, was in bottom set most of his school life. I'm not very articulate. I'm not very good at reading. I wondered if a guy like me could do it. I also wanted to become a millionaire because I wanted to just be able to go into my bank account, look there, and have like £100,000 in there. I wondered what it would feel like to have to go into your bank account and have £100,000 there. I wonder what that would be like. Some of the reasons why I wanted to become a millionaire. But what would you like to have? Maybe for you is to become an art collector. Write that down. For some of you, you might say, Cassim, do you know what? I've always wanted to learn to ski. Never been skiing in my life. I've seen people skiing. Never even once thought about it. I would love to learn how to ski. I've been skiing. It was one of my goals, actually. Well, but I didn't actually go skiing. I became a snowboarder. I tried skiing firstly, but not for me. Now I'm obsessed with skiing. So I realised I was a snowboarder, and now I'm obsessed with snowboarding. Maybe for you, it's to go to learn how to fly a plane. Some people I know want so badly to learn how to fly a plane. Maybe that might be your vision over the next 10 years. Remember, don't worry about the practicalities of it. Don't worry about how possible it is. Don't worry about the obstacles. This is about just writing it down. Get it on paper. Now, this exercise we would usually carry on and go, because go for hours and hours. But unfortunately, we have a limited amount of time today. But what I would encourage you to do is continue that exercise. We're going to now move on to the next exercise, but I would encourage you to carry on. The goal for you should be to write down 500 things that you want. If you write down 500 things that you want, I'm telling you, you will have hope. Because you would have actually identified that there are things out there that are possible for you. One of the mistakes that I think many of us make in life is we say, other people, it's possible to become rich. Yeah, it's possible to become healthy. Yeah, it's possible to be happy. But we never say that we can be rich, that we can be happy, that we can be successful, that we can be winners. By doing this exercise, you forcefully force yourself to accept that these things are possible for you. So that's the first exercise. The next exercise that I then want to get onto is to give your... So earlier on I said to you that as you write the goals that you want, write them downwards. So write them 1, 2, 3, 4, and write down, I want to go to New York, I want to fly first class. Write them in that way. So the next thing that I want you to do is to go down the list of the goals that you've got and give them a number between 1 and 10. The number between 1 and 10 will correlate to how long you think it's going to take you to achieve the goal. For example, if, like me, when I was in debt, your goal at the moment is to get to the point where you save £1,000. That was one of my goals. I was thousands of pounds in debt because I'd had payday loans to like 5 different companies, Wonga and Payday Advance. I had loads of payday loans. I had a credit card which I hadn't paid off. I had an overdraft that I was in. I had fines that I hadn't paid off. So there was so much debt that I had at the time. And I was like, I want to get to the point where I have £1,000 in my bank account. Now, back then, that was insane. I mean, considering the fact the way I'd been living my life, and to even be so stupid back then to have to write that I could even ever have £1,000 in my bank account was insane. It was just unheard of. It just seemed stupid to me to even write that down. But I did what the man told me, which was, he said, write down what you want, right? And I wrote down back then that I felt that it would take me 5 years to get out of debt and save £1,000. Now, I actually managed to do that within a matter of, I think it was something like a year and a half I managed to do that. Not 5 years. But the feeling that I had of having £1,000 in my bank. Some of you who are watching and listening to me, you've never had £1,000 in your bank. You may have had it come in as in your paycheck, but you've never had it there just as money which you can do anything that you want with it. Usually when it comes in, you have to pay your rent, then you have to pay for your phone, then you have to pay for Sky, then you have to pay for the golf lessons. There's so many things you have to pay for. By the time you actually pay everything off, you've only got like £100, 200 quid left. Can you imagine just having £1,000 in your bank account? You even breathe differently when you even start considering that. So for you, I don't know, give it a number. Maybe at the moment you are in your overdraft And when you start thinking about, actually, I might have to take on an extra part-time job in the evenings. If I take that part-time job on, and let's say I do that for, let's say, 4 hours every evening, 5 days a week, it's probably going to take me 4 months to get to the point where I've saved up £1,000. So that's the first exercise. The second exercise, and whilst you're doing that, by the way, let me share a couple of other things. There is a phrase that I heard a guy called Tony Robbins say. Tony Robbins said that people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in a decade. Most people, when we think about in fact, those of you who are listening, when you start looking down that list of the things that you want, it's going to seem insane. It's going to seem crazy. It's going to seem mad, right? That you could ever achieve these things. And part of the reason why is because you're thinking short term. You're thinking, how the hell am I ever going to get out of debt, Cassim? I mean, if I add up all my debt, including all my financing for my car, everything, it's probably going to take me like freaking 4 years to get out of this. You're thinking so short. What if you gave yourself a decade to do the same thing? See, all of a sudden, it lifts the pressure off you and allows you to be able to dream, right? There is a Chinese philosophy which says that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. Earlier on, most of you know that I said that the title of this seminar is that it's never too late to change. Meaning, yes, at the moment you may be loads of pounds in debt. At the moment you may not have a missus. At the moment you may be overweight, right? At the moment you may not like the job that you're in. But guess what? If your job is to become a counsellor, but at the moment you're working in Tesco's on the checkouts, yes, you may not be able to become a counsellor in 1 year, but guess what you can do? Over a 7-year period, you can start working part-time and pay your bills. Worse, working in Tesco's at the cashiers. Start doing your degree part-time or your course part-time to become a counsellor, and in 3-4 years, you're going to become a counsellor. Do you see what I'm saying? The other thing that I wanted to mention as we're on this is that you want to start building and creating instead of microwaving everything. There is a tendency today in the world that we live in for people to kind of just want everything today, everything instantaneously, because we live in a world today where if you want food, you can get on Deliveroo and Deliveroo will deliver it in 20 minutes. If you want to a taxi, you can get on Uber and Uber taxi will arrive to you in 3-4 minutes. Everything today is instant. If you want a package and you order it on Amazon, it can arrive the next day. In fact, today, Amazon can even offer you same-day delivery on certain products. That's how quick of a world we live in. But the issue with that is that most people, because of that, are not used to waiting for anything. But I found from my own life and from studying other people's lives that all the great things about life don't come. Anything that is worthwhile and is meaning doesn't come instantly. If you really want a marriage which has got depth, which has got connection, which has got spontaneity, that kind of a relationship does not happen in a year. That kind of a relationship happens over decades where it's tough and you argue and you fight over things and you fall out of each other and you don't want to talk to each other and you don't sleep in the same bed and you don't have sex for weeks and weeks. That's how you actually get to the point where you have a really in-depth kind of connection and marriage or relationship with somebody. It doesn't happen in a year. I get skeptical when I meet a couple and they're like, oh my God, we're meant to be, oh my God, we have the perfect relationship. Because I'm like, how could you possibly have the perfect relationship when you've been together 6 months? Some people have grown up with their parents and their parents don't even know them. So how can you say after 6 months that you really know this person? It's impossible. right? And anyway, you can know so much about somebody, but because we're constantly evolving and changing, our desires, our hopes, our values, our perceptions of the world actually change as we get older and we develop. So it is never actually possible to truly know somebody anyway. If you want a really quick meal and you want to satisfy yourself, you can go down to McDonald's. You can go down to McDonald's, order your Big Mac, order your cheeseburger on the side, and your nuggets as well, along with the sweet sour sauce, ketchup, and mayo, right? You can get it, but I guarantee you within 2 hours you're going to be hungry again. But if you want a meal that's wholesome, that will fill you up like a shepherd's pie, like a roast, it takes time to do that. It takes time to make it. It takes hours to prepare and go and get the ingredients. But if you go to McDonald's, they'll give it to you in 2 minutes, if not less. Do you see what I mean? So by now, if you've written down on your whole list of goals, you should now be able to have a whole list of 1 and 2 and 5 and 6 year goals. But the thing that I want you to pay attention to is how many 1 year goals you have. How many 2 year goals you have? How many 10-year goals you have? Because this exercise is designed to show you how far ahead you've been thinking. Because some people who are doing this very same exercise as you, they have like 50 10-year goals. Some of the people who are doing this same exercise have like 20 1-year goals. So it's just like, okay, are you thinking mainly short term? But maybe some of you are thinking way too long into the future, but I never actually got small steps or small goals along the way, which are called confidence builders. The next exercise that we want to then participate in is to prioritize your goals. Now, I put this in because I had a slight issue. When I first started this exercise, God knows, in 2014, I think it was, I had literally, if you talk to my parents, they'll tell you how many pieces of paper I had. I didn't have a journal back then. I had just literally went on my dad's computer and I just got a piece of paper and a pen and I just started writing down everything that I wanted. I then came up to an issue because I had so many goals. I was like, where do I start? Right? And so I made a couple of suggestions, and this is what I would suggest to you. Go down the list of the goals that you have and start scrubbing down the things. Number one, that if you get to the end of your life, you would be okay not having achieved or become or basically attained. So, for example, for me, on my list of goals, I had that I wanted to own a Rolls Royce. Now, I said to myself, if I died, would I be okay not having owned a Rolls Royce? And I was like, actually, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it would be nice to own a Rolls Royce. I think they're beautiful cars, but it's not really a major deal to me. But let me tell you what is important to me. I really want to be able to have several houses rented out so that my children do not have to worry about a deposit for their home. I want my children to basically come into the world and go and help people, go and follow their dreams, go and build businesses, go and start foundations. That's what I want my children to concern themselves with, not constantly be trapped in having to pay their bills so that they can pay their mortgage. I found that was far much more important to me. I wrote down in preparation to this that you can have anything, but you just can't have it all at one time. On those, basically everything that you've written down is possible. You know it, I know it, but you can't have it all at the same time. I love something that Bill Bailey once said. Bill Bailey said that life's not just the passing of time. Life is a collection of experiences, their frequency and their intensity. A gentleman once said that you want to be careful not to major in minor things. part of the reason why I'm encouraging you to do this particular exercise is because a lot of people that I studied in life who were unhappy and unfulfilled, I found were spending most of their life where they were working hard, where they were being productive, where they were doing their best, but they were doing their best in an area where they shouldn't have been doing very, like, pushing their best. So for example, you can go and work in as an accountant your whole life, and you can put effort into it, and you can do the best work, and you can turn up early to work and put effort into it. But if that's not your area of gifting, and your area of gifting is singing, you can never truly be able to succeed to the same degree that you would be able to were you to spend most of that time on the singing. And what I'm saying to you is, some of you are spending so much time on things that don't really matter, that ultimately what's happening is you're becoming average at everything. So for example, let me give you an example of what I mean by this. Some of you, when you get home and you have a missus, when you get home, if we looked at how you spend your day, I would say that you spend, let's say, 2 hours on COD, on FIFA, and you spend 10 minutes talking to your missus, communicating, articulating your dreams, asking your missus how everything is. How is she? What does she want? Is she happy? How can you get better? Planning for your next holiday. See, if you are doing that every single day, then you are majoring in minor things. Because FIFA is important, but your missus and your connection and your relationship and articulating your ideas and philosophies with each other is actually a higher goal. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is part of the reason why I did this. I want you to do this exercise, because I want you to realize what is actually really important to you. What do you value? Would you rather that you take a step down, where at the moment you're earning 75,000, but you don't really like this job, but you would much rather earn 35, but absolutely love your job? That may be something that you need to consider. So that's the next exercise. After that, we want to now get into an exercise which I found the most difficult. It was a part of the exercise where I didn't even realize that I was lacking in this bit. And this bit of the exercise, of this workshop, is called Who Do You Need to Become? Do you need to become says, you don't overcome challenges by making them smaller. You overcome challenges by making yourself bigger. I remember Jim Rohn many years ago said, for things to change for you, you have to change. For things to get better, you will have to get better. To have more, you simply have to become more. And I pass those same words on to you. If you want things to get better in your life, you're going to have to get better. If you want things to improve in your life, you're going to have to improve. In fact, Michael Jackson put it best when Michael Jackson said, if you want to change the world, start with a man in the mirror. If you want to change your world, start looking at changing you. Because as you change you, your world all of a sudden also will begin to change. There is something else that I wrote down in preparation for today, which is that life was not designed to give us what we want. Life was designed to give us what we deserve. Are you the kind of person who deserves happiness? Are you the kind of person who really deserves to attract a woman into your life that you're going to be married to for the next 50 years? Are you that kind of person? And this is the reason why I talk a lot about why this is so important. Because, for example, for me, I had a goal that one of my goals was to help men become higher, fuller expressions of themselves, which meant that I had to then give advice. But if I'm going to give advice, I realized I had to go wiser in thinking. I had to be non-judgmental, because I'd be listening to people telling me their stories, telling me their problems, right? So I needed to become the kind of person who, when people come in my presence, they feel safe. They don't feel judged. I realized that I had to become a better communicator, because I had to be able to articulate my ideas, articulate my philosophies, articulate strategies and tactics that I'd learned from people. So I knew I had to get better at communication. My question to you is, who do you need to become? You can become anything. Human beings, we're really lucky that we are the only species on this planet who are driven by a space where we have the freedom to be able to make choice. Every other living organism on the planet operates on an instinctive code. They have no choice but to essentially do whatever their genes are telling them, and their code and their DNA tells them. But human beings, we can change, we can develop, we can go in a different direction. You can actually change. You could have been a dickhead for the last 20 years, but decide, I don't want to be a dickhead anymore. I want to be something completely different and go in a different direction. Trees cannot move if they don't like the location that they're sat under. The geese have to fly south in the winter. They cannot go west or north. They can't do it. But human beings, if west does not look good, we can go south. We can go north if we wish to. And I wonder if that's you. After that, we then get on to what I call the single most important part of this goal setting workshop, which is why. When I coach leaders, one of the things that I share with leaders is that one of the main traits that you're going to need to develop in the 21st century to win is drive. The ability to motivate yourself, the ability to be driven by something which is larger than yourself. And the reason why I say this, guys, is because we live in privilege actually today. We don't have to worry about wars because there isn't that many wars in the UK. We don't have to worry about education because anyone can get you educated. We don't need to worry about employment because there are so many jobs that you can get employed by someone doing something. And I think because of that, a lot of us don't realize that we don't have a drive. We're not motivated to do great things. And so what I would encourage you to do, and is my piece of advice to you, is really figure out what your why. Figure out why you want to become a doctor, why you want to motivate people, why you want to write a book. What is your why? Let me share with you a statement that changed my life. The statement said that human beings will do more for others than we will ever do for ourselves. I was talking to a friend of mine and I was saying to him, isn't it funny that as human beings, when we are sort of have a girlfriend, we won't even tidy our room, we will go for days without a shower, we won't really cut our hair. The moment we're in a relationship or a girl says she's coming over, all of a sudden we tidy where we live, we look at our clothes, we iron our clothes, we go for regular haircuts. Why? Because we will do more for other people than actually we need to do for ourselves. Men earn more money when they get children. They could have earned that money before they had children if they wanted to, but that ability to and that desire to want to help other people and their child is what drives them to do incredible things. And I wonder whether you are the kind of individual who will do more for other people than you do for yourself, whether you're being driven by something larger than you. I love something that Jim Rohn said. Jim Rohn said that if you had enough reasons, you could do the most remarkable things. And I wonder whether you recognize that and get that as something really important. That if you have potential, but you do not have drive, but you don't have enough reasons, you will stay exactly where you are. But if you have potential and you have the ability to be able to inspire, to go after people, you have the ability to be able to grow. You have the ability to be able to write books. You have the ability to be able to travel around the world. Whatever it may be for you, if you do not have drive, I'm telling you, you're going to get to the end of your life and say, Cassim, I have regrets. I read a book by a woman called Bonnie Ware, and Bonnie Ware spent years with people who basically knew that they were going to die, and so they went back home. And this woman used to look after them in their home because they knew they were going to die in the next 6 months or whatever it may be. And she wrote this really interesting books about some of the things that she heard. And one of the things that she had on her list about what she called the 5 regrets of dying people is that many of these individuals said that they wished that they'd allowed themselves to go after that which they wanted. And they wished that they'd been more patient and more loving with people and connected and stayed in touch with their friends. And my point to you is, a lot of these individuals, when they have regrets, it is never regrets about things that they've achieved. It is always regrets about things that they haven't achieved. Their potential, connected with somebody, traveled around the world. And so to avoid that, what I would encourage you to do is to find out what moves you. Find out what motivates you. Find out what turns you on, what gets all the dials turned up, all the buttons spinning, all the energy up. What is it that moves you? Ask yourself that question. The last part of this exercise that I want to share with you as we come to a close of this workshop today is research. I would say this is perhaps, if you forget everything that I've said and you go and do this one thing, you will do much better than anybody else. Because research is really about you going, finding people who already have what you have, or finding whatever it is that you want and looking at the details. So for example, if one of your goals on your list is to go to Hawaii, you want to go and research how much it costs to get to Hawaii, how much the plane tickets are, where do they land, how long does it take, do you get meals or not, which cabins are there on the plane, are there meals on the plane if you're going to fly there. You want to look at activities in Hawaii. Do people stay in hotels or do people stay in villas? How much is the insurance over there? And the reason why I say this is really important is that when you acquire information, information alleviates fear. When you know about something and you understand it and get it, you no longer are fearful of it. And so what I would share with you is, if you can now begin to research and look into wherever it is, any area, any of your goals, what it will do is it will put you in a great position where it will not only become a reality, but also you will get to the point in your life where it alleviates fear out of your life. I also wrote down in preparation for today that if you work this goal setting workshop, it will work for you. Meaning that if you go and do all the things that I've shared with you today, you may not be able to win guaranteed, you may not be able to win tomorrow, but I know that this strategy works. This plan works. You know, one of the things that I also wrote down in preparation for today is that there has to be a part of you that believes in God, but also there has to be an even greater part of you that believes in yourself. It will take courage and faith. The reason why I wrote that down is because I came to realize that many of you who are listening to me, you believe in God, you believe in other people, you believe in your dad, you believe in your boss, you believe in everybody and every entity, but the only thing that you don't believe in is yourself. And so what I would encourage you to do is, on your path to being a winner, on your path to setting your goals, really, really get to the point where you believe in yourself. Because one of the reasons why so many people don't achieve what they want is simply because they don't believe that they can do it. They don't believe that they can do it. And so if you can begin to find people, and this is the way that I say to people, there's a phrase in psychology called modeling. And the way modeling works is that you basically go and find whatever it is that you want and find somebody who's already got it or has already achieved it or is already doing it and model them. Not copy. Copying is not right, but modeling means you take the blueprint and the foundations and the principles of what they've done and you tailor them to yourself. So that kind of concludes this week's workshop. I don't know whether this workshop has been useful or not, but I really want you to do well in life. I really want you to go and live your best life. I want you to go out there and love, go out there and experience life, go out there and meet people, go out there and travel, love, eat, go out there and have loads of sex, go out there and just do the most incredible things. You really, 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 really can. And I challenge you to do it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in next week's show. Bye for now.